Just to tell you a little bit about myself, 2 years ago, surprisingly enough, was I think the last time I wore this suit, because I was a federal public servant. I worked at the Department of Foreign Affairs as a manager, a deputy, and my specialty was counterterrorism. So I was working on programs all over the world to stop terrorists coming to Canada. So here I am, I'm now manager of a resort. What happened? Well, what happened was that something connected to my childhood came on the auction block. I used to cottage in the area of, Chiefy's Lock. I was at Newborough, but you know, neighbors. And it's all connected, and I'd go by boat, and I'd go and spend all of my money on ice cream, and taking forever to choose a flavor. So, you know, apologies to everyone behind me in line. So years go by. Anyone familiar? Who knows the Opinicon Resort? Yeah. Okay, so most of you. I won't even have to get into too much of the history, so we can just flip through these slides real fast. Yay, my notes.
We had one little glitch today.
All right. So 2 years ago, at this point, I am extremely pregnant, yes. And I was awaiting the birth of my third child. I was on my first week of maternity leave, and someone sends me a link. It says, oh, the Opinicon's for sale. It's an estate sale. Isn't that the place that you used to go to as a kid? And I'm like, wow. And here's where I blame the hormones, because I'm like, oh, imagine what you could do with the place. You know, it's just so much to do. And as a kid, I didn't even know that the cottages existed in the back. That was sort of a recent awareness. And it just got the ideas flowing. And my husband was extremely busy with Shopify, and we were heading into an insane crunch time for our whole family. And I think it was a bit of escapism to say, like, oh, you know, this beautiful 16-acre place and in totally idyllic conditions, and imagine what we could do with it. Why don't we'll just throw in a bid, just one, and just to say that, you know, we tried, and when it gets bulldozed, then we can say, well, we tried, you know, we tried. So the night before bids are due, literally last second, we kind of go, throw it in, and the next day, when I finally got all my kids off to daycare and school, and Toby off to work, they called me and said, congratulations. And thus begins our crazy adventure, and why I'm standing here in my old suit. So we'll go forward with some of our stuff. So I have to do this at the same time. Okay, good. So what landed on my lap was several tons of history. This is one of the earliest pictures that we have of the Opinicon, but it goes way, way back. No one's really sure exactly when it was first built, but 1870s seems to be the going number. And what else landed on my lap was a repository of family memories going back generations. I even heard some of them today at lunch. People were coming up to me and saying, oh, you know, my grandparents used to take us there, and that is absolutely the best part of this job. But it's also an intense amount of pressure. When you have everybody's cherished family memories on the line, and you know, don't mess it up. But there's a certain amount of change that's going to have to happen in order to preserve this place. And I mean, this is what it looked like. This was the door of the ice cream parlor. We bought the place when it was under snow. Spring came, and reality hit us like a truck. And then you start peeling away the wallpaper and realize that the wallpaper is structural. You got some really big problems. You know, what do? Where do you start? This is after the paint job. But the inside needs to get completely gutted. So where do you start? So I kind of took it with a two-pronged approach with, you know, baby on the hip and, well, too small, baby in the arms. Got to get the word out, and you got to get the hammers out. So I'll just give you a quick overview of sort of the big things that I've learned over the last almost 2 years. So on the get the word out front, marketing is just a very different beast these days, especially for for a project that we're trying to do. We're in the middle of nowhere. Sorry, Chafies. We're in the middle of nowhere. And to try and get people to come out is really difficult. But there's a really compelling story here. How do you get the story out? That's not going to happen with little ads in magazines. You can't tell enough of a story there. And so it really turned to social media. I started the Facebook page just because it sort of comes naturally to me. I think I did it the day that we won the auction. Okay, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you do all that. You just start getting the word out, share it with your friends, and then it starts rolling. And then people started tagging people, saying, hey, did you know that someone bought the Opinicon? And then they'll tag all their family members, because all the people that used to go there with them, and then all the family stories start rolling out, and then you got more and more stories. Like, it's not just my story anymore, it's all these people's stories, which gets really, really fascinating. A difficult thing for me to learn was find your tribe. And, sorry. Did I hit a back button by accident? Thank you. Find your tribe, and it won't be everyone. And that was the hard part for me. Like, you will not get everybody on board. I'm sure this is like an absolute duh moment for you guys, but as a sort of consensus builder in government, I was like, how come we can't all get along? But as I realized this, that when we applied for our liquor license, and we had people actively, vocally telling me how evil it was that we were going to be selling alcohol. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get everybody on board. So find your tribe, and it won't be everyone. The other thing that I learned, and I try to just keep this this is sort of trying to find my notes again. The authenticity factor. When I did the Facebook page, I kind of treat it like a journal. Everyone kept saying, you got to take notes about what's going on. You got to document what's going on. I don't have time to document what's going on. So the Facebook page is my archive. It's, whatever is happening, I put it down, I share it. And then that's how sort of the video streams started as well, because it was just easier for me to, why don't I just show you? And I think people react to it so positively because I'm not trying to hide anything. It's warts and all. If things aren't going our way for whatever reason, I'll talk about it. And you're showing the ups and downs. And people have reacted in a really surprising way. I just did not think that it would catch on the way it did, but almost everybody I meet says, I watch you on Facebook, which is seriously strange. It's just really weird when people say that. But it has helped us tremendously. Every time I post a video, it gets about 15,000 views. So, and that gets shared all over the place. So that's strange, and makes you keep on top of your haircuts and things like that. But other than that, the authenticity factor, like, people will smell it if you don't mean it. So you better mean everything you say. So on the bring out the hammers front, it was really, really hard to balance preservation versus renovation. It had to be familiar to people when they walked up. But what was familiar was literally rotting away. It was just in absolute derelict shape, all 20 whatever buildings that are on the site. But you can't just wipe the past away. That's what people remember. So instead, we had to kind of rely on the feeling of the place, because there is a very specific feeling when you walk into the Opinicon, and it's really hard to describe. But clearly, you've all been there, so you get it. There's an Opinicon feeling. Let's preserve the feeling, but also tweak it, what we're offering, how we get people to come, when people come, all of those things, so that the feeling stays and it's familiar enough, but what we're building is actually sustainable, which is tough. So with the cabins, for example, which is sort of the last big piece that we've finished off, there are so many pieces, but we're actually done with the cabins, which feels good. We had to go back. There was almost nothing left to us when we got the keys. All the furniture was gone. There were a couple pieces left, but requiring thousands of dollars in repairs per chair. So not exactly cost effective. So what we did is we actually went back to what did the cabins used to look like? Because I know what they kind of looked like in the 80s, but when they were first built, what was the feeling, and how do we recapture those feelings? So people had actually sent me family pictures of them staying in various cottages, and just piecing together all these pieces, you get an idea of what these cabins felt like. So this is a picture of pines from, the postcard doesn't have a date on it, but we're guessing sort of maybe the 20s. And you get a sort of sense of the warmth and the comfort. But again, nothing was salvageable, although the more I look at it, I think one of those wicker rocking chairs might still be around, but you don't want to sit in it. And then this is what we've done with it. So this is my interpretation. There's the similar feelings of warmth and coziness. You keep the wood as much as you can. The floors are new. The bathrooms are new, if anyone stayed in the old ones. There are fireplace inserts. There's custom cabinetry. There's excellent Wi-Fi, the infrastructure for which the bill is astounding. But these are all things that when you walk in, you'll say, oh yeah, this is Pines. But almost everything there is new. But that's how you preserve the past while making it accessible and attractive to a more modern audience. This is Ponderosa. For anybody who had a party in Ponderosa, I'm sure there are a few of them. Apparently, the venue of many outlandish parties, mostly bachelor parties. So in this case, if anyone stayed in Ponderosa, this had drop-down ceiling, sort of that popcorn dentist office ceiling, and it was just in absolute terrible shape. So rip out the ceilings, redo bring in all the light. It's an absolutely delightful place now. So, one of the things that people were talking about here is, you've got, sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts as I'm speaking, but there are so many important pieces to the puzzles. And one thing that we're talking about when we're talking about rejuvenation is, I would be nowhere without the staff that have stepped up. It has been absolutely incredible. The first year, I think we had 90 employees, and these were people who were absolutely taking a chance on us. We had zero business plan. I had literally a newborn in my arms going, hey, you want to work for us? And there was so much enthusiasm and trying to figure out the processes, and again, counterterrorism, not hospitality, just trying to figure things out. And then this year, I think at the peak season, we're up to 104 employees. All of them absolutely buying into the vision that we're putting forward, working like dogs under incredibly difficult circumstances with unknown timelines and constant construction delays. Everyone stayed, everyone put in their best effort, most of them very young. So when we're talking about some of the issues with youth employment, I will put up my hand and say, they're amazing. And especially when they feel like they have something that they can commit their time to that means more than themselves. And I think a lot of us here have businesses like that. And as long as the story is being told convincingly and with authenticity, that what they are giving to the business, whether it be stocking shelves or whatever, is more than their 9 to 5, then they will give you the enthusiasm that you're asking of them. So thank you so much for having me here today.